first six-figure month from making the shift.
The value that my time has now has completely shifted. I was slave to my business. I think there's so much transformation to be done as a creator that needs to happen before your business even takes off. So if you're even thinking about working with Julia, do it, because it's like day and night.
Andy, I'm super excited to have this conversation because one of my favorite things about you is your enthusiasm and your energy that you bring to Instagram. I remember when we were DMing, when you first were interested in working together. I think it was actually during my last live launch, which was April. And now I'm in the middle of another live launch in November. It's like full circle moment. But I remember being like, wow, I just like love her energy. And you're like, I'm really looking for a coach. And I was like, okay, what are you looking for in a coach? And we were just chatting. And anyone listening, like Andy and I were just talking about what should we talk about on this episode? Like, what was the one thing we want people to take away from this? And we agreed that from the start of us working together, Andy was really in a like six-figure coach mindset. Like she had repeatable success, but she was burned out. She was like needing to get away from like being a one-on-one coach, being for everybody to like, how do I turn into a seven-figure personal brand and creator? And now that we're wrapping up our work together, she had her first six-figure month from making the shift. So Andy, tell the listeners who you are, what you do, and then we'll kick it off. And I'm so excited to dive in with you.
Right. So I am an Instagram coach. So a coach myself, really focused on Instagram. I'm Mexican, so my page is fully in Spanish, and I work with entrepreneurs. So anyone that's an entrepreneur that wants to kind of know how to make Instagram work for them and sell for them, I am their person. And I love the fact that you just said I hadn't put it into, it really was a full like circle moment, but the transformation was massive. So yeah, incredible.
I love it, Andy. So I think what's one thing I really want to highlight for the listeners is that you don't even sell high ticket offers. Like all
No.
your offers are low ticket. You just had your first six-figure month. Like, let's talk about that. Why low ticket?
So that is incredible, because actually when people see my numbers or anything, everyone assumes, oh, you're high ticket. It's like, no, I actually don't sell high ticket. I don't sell anything high ticket. So the reason how I started kind of is, I think I struggle with the fact that I sell mostly to Latin America. So we kind of, our budgets are different, right? And also I just think the way that maybe I consume things or how I see things is more in volume, which something that I really liked about working with you was actually, I always thought of that as a bit of a lack. Like I thought, oh, well, that's my weakness. I'm a low ticket person. And actually, I remember the call where it kind of hit me and I was like, that might be my superpower, and we can still treat it as a seven-figure business, like I can be a seven-figure CEO of a low-ticket business. And it was such a shift, like the shift in my mindset. I had never realized how much impact it has on like how much money you make, how much you grow your business, all of that. So yeah, fully low-ticket queen over here that has
I love it. We
managed
were
to
we were
sort it out.
thinking about naming one of her programs Low Ticket Queen. So when
And
you
then I was
just
like,
said
no,
that,
no, no. That didn't end up working out, but I have, that's how I feel anyways now.
yeah. So what would you say were the initial things going through your head when you're like, I think I need to hire a coach? Like, what were those initial thoughts you were feeling back in April?
So I think being a coach myself, and this is the thing, and you'll know this, Julie, like to be a coach, it's not like someone asked me the other day, did you take a coaching course? Like, no, it's just kind of
Yeah.
something that is, part of your personality. And I started realizing how much impact I was having on people I was coaching. And I was like, well, surely if I am able to, impact someone else by coaching them, surely someone can help me through coaching. And I'll never forget it as well. I saw a quote or someone mentioned, I actually don't remember where it came from, but it was like, look at who's doing the things or that you want to be doing, or like kind of follow, what was it? It was like, I think success leaves clues or something. Might have been
Love
like
that.
around that. And I had always followed you, and I was like, well, I just kind of thought we matched. And it was very clear. I was like, I think I've made it this far, kind of on my experience and my feel or whatever. But I definitely felt like I was getting stuck. I wasn't growing anymore. It was really quick as well, because my business is only just turned a year old. But I very quickly kind of felt like I don't really know where more to go from here. And I knew that I wanted to grow. I didn't know how. I didn't know what I needed. It was very clear that I needed someone to kind of take me hand in hand. And once I met you, I think it was more clear, like just vibe wise, that we were on the same wavelength, and it felt really comfortable. That I was like, it felt like incredibly good to invest in you. It seemed like an investment, and I mean, of course it was, but yeah, I think that was kind of how it went, to be honest.
I love that. So you were kind of just feeling ready to take it to the next level. And you're
Yeah,
like, I just want to learn. I just want to grow. Right.
yeah,
So let's kind of walk through that. Like, one thing that I love you shared before we started recording was around like the way your mind has just changed around running a business. And I think this can help a lot of people because a ton of people that we work with, they're already coaches, right? Like they do some one on one, they help people for free all the time in the DMs and all this
yeah.
stuff. But how do we actually step into being a CEO, scaling the company to six figures a month? So, talk us through what that transformation was like for you.
That was massive for me because I think, started my business without it ever. I never had in mind to make as much money as I've made. I never thought, I just honestly thought it was going to be a side project that made me maybe a grand extra month. So I think my starting point was off. I never knew that it could become this. So
Yeah.
when it did, my mindset hadn't caught, I don't think I was caught up to the success of it. And I feel like after all the work we've put in, I have realized that I'm not just another person online. Like I have to kind of become this CEO
Yeah.
creator that I actually feel more part of it now. I know I still have
Yeah.
work to do. Um, and that's changed entirely how my business has grown because I almost think that I was treating it like a side
Hmm.
hustle when
Hmm.
actually it was a
The
full
main
blown
hustle.
yeah, it was a seven-figure business in the making, which it now is. And I wasn't treating it like that for sure. So I think
Mm.
I was the one actually that was not allowing it to grow. And I remember so vividly when in one of our calls you said, like, you're comfortable making that amount of money. And I was like, well, yeah, it's an incredible amount of money. And you were like, but you're comfortable. Like the reason why you're not pushing for more is because your comfort zone is that. And it honestly blew my mind. I was like, yeah, like of course.
Yeah.
So honestly, yeah, I think there's so much transformation to be done as the CEO, as a creator, that needs to happen before your business even takes off or even grows. Like they do go hand in hand. And that was really valuable for me to kind of realize that and then be like, right, so if I invest in myself
Hmm.
and in coaching for me, this will obviously impact my business. And it has. So yeah, it was just really exciting.
Wow. And one thing I've loved about working with you is you always figure out the how to. So, like most times when people go to a coach, they're like, give me the Instagram strategy, give me the funnel, tell me what price I should make it at. But, like, for you, it was always around like stretching you to be this seven-figure CEO. And you always figured out the how to like later, right? Like maybe we talked some launch strategy and things like that, but like it was never really the focus. It was more
Yeah.
around like, what are Andy's goals? What are Andy's dreams? What do we want to do? So, talk to the audience a little bit around like tactically how we've shifted your business to increase your profit, your monthly revenue, get more customers. Tell us some of the like tactical shifts we've made.
I think the biggest one for sure is how much time I spent operationally in my business. If you look at like a full scope of before and after Julia, basically, I was selling my time. Like that was all I was doing. And obviously that was making me money, but I was exhausted. And at the end of the day, my work is creative work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was impacting how creative I was able to be. And to the point where I think I left that model quickly enough that I was never burnt out, but for sure I was on the way to becoming
Yeah.
really burnt out and almost resenting, certain things. So tactically, I think that we really realized kind of the why, which was so important. I was so focused on like, yeah, the product, this, that, the funnel, like you say, but one of the first questions you asked me was like, why? Like, why do you want to be in this space? And I knew it, but I'd never kind of like extracted that and been like, this is the why. And I remember very quickly saying, I just want to help out an entrepreneur that was me one day. Cause this isn't my first business. I was in a service-based business where I was exhausted, made a ton of weight. Like, a lot of people will feel that way. And you asked me the why. And I was like, well, I just want people to kind of know that that's not the only way. And you were like,
Yeah.
of course, but the way you're doing it is through the things that you would never recommend.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's so right. So the
Mm.
shift did was like, how do we not burn myself out and still serve more people? And that was obviously focusing my effort, my time, my money, my resources, everything in more of a digital offer. And I remember feeling like, yeah, Julia, but still, like, I should have the one-on-ones, I should have the group coachings. And you were like, that pushback was so good. Because again, it's like fighting the comfort, which I
Yeah.
think it's normal to want to feel comfortable and forget about me, how I feel, how the profits, like, it's day and night, honestly. It's such a difference. So tactically, I think that was so good. And then once we had that, I think you came in with a bird's eye view of thinking like, right, now you know the where you're going. Now, like, you have to make sure that all your offers, everything that you do is aligned with that. And we had a ton of ideas. I remember bouncing off with you so many ideas. And a lot of the time you'd be like, yeah, incredible idea, but is that aligned? And I was like, no. You're like, well,
Yeah.
So I think, and I love that you say that I always came out with the why, but I think that you asked me the questions that had I been asked the question, I would have had the answer, but that was so valuable to me. I was always like, oh, she's making me think about these things that I almost don't want to think. And it was very like, I had to confront a lot of these things of knowing, why am I not doing this? Why am I still doing this? And yeah, it was great to see, like, we actually went through a launch together that was aligned to this plan that we had kind of like thought through. And it's been my best launch far by 1,000. So it was so good to see, like, oh my God, this actually works. And I wasn't burnt out and I didn't think it was exhausting. It was great. And I served more people. So yeah, it was just very aligned to, I think, what you helped me kind of create. That was great.
The biggest takeaway I'm getting from this conversation is how you went from being a owner operator to an owner.
Yeah.
And this is such a like 7-figure conversation, because in a lot of my content, even like your content, like we don't really talk about these things. So we get this space to talk about this like on a podcast on YouTube, like behind the scenes. You shifted from that service-based business mindset of like, I have to one-on-one coach every single client, to now I create something and deliver at scale. And this
Yeah.
is true wealth creation. Like, this is 7-figure talk. This is 7-figure level, because it's like the same way that people talk about, well, you're never going to get rich as an employee. It's the same thing in your business. And we had this conversation on the group call yesterday for CCA. And I was just like, guys, like, I'm going to just keep it super real with you. Some of you guys are highly paid employees of your business. And like,
Oh my God, yeah.
when we first started working together, like, guys, you have to listen for a second. When you start working with a client, like, you never know what you're going to get till you get on the first call. The first call me and Andy got on, we're like spending an hour clearing her Google Calendar. Like, do you remember
No.
that?
Oh my God, I almost get like PTSD from it. I think you just, like, I was a very well paid slave to my business, like, slave, honestly. And I
Tell
just
us how
like,
you really feel.
no, yeah, like, honestly. And I think to the point where I know for a fact, I continued this way, I would have almost, I'm pretty sure by now I would have been like, I've made my $1 million, like, that's it, just go invest it and that's it. I will not do more. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And that's such a shift, because I see this project, to me, truly is my life project. I want to do this for the rest of my life. It will evolve with me. There's no way of evolving something that takes up, like, I'm not, guys, truly,
Yeah.
I wish we had the screenshots. The first call I had with Julia was, she was like, open up your Google Calendar. And I was like, no, I can't, because I knew what she was going to see. And I was like, oh, I don't have access to it. You're like, no, go on, open it. It was shocking. It was like the most unhealthy, horrible thing. So obviously I'm Mexican. Most of my audience is Latin American, but I've lived in Europe for the past 5 years. So the way that I was structuring things was, I would work all day and then I would take one-on-one calls until like 1 a.m. And you were like, for $200? Like, are you joking? And that's something that I'll make, like, when I'm showering. Like, it sounds so, and I know this sounds like, it's not just the money. The money's great. And like, but again, I don't spend anything, saying this as I'm wearing, like, literally a Fruit of the Loom hoodie, but it's just, I think the value that my time has now has completely shifted. And also, one of the things as well that I've learned, not necessarily that you taught me, but I definitely learned from you, was just like limits. You have to have certain boundaries, which I never had before. I really struggled with that. That's something I struggle as a person. But with my business, it was always like, oh, can you help me? Yeah, for sure. And can you have a call? Yeah, no problem. Whereas now, actually, I would be doing a disservice to my audience and to entrepreneurs who want to learn with me and from me if I still had one-to-ones, because it makes it really expensive. I can't give out too many. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
flexible with time because I don't have the time. Whereas now I always say to people like, give the course a shot, and
Yeah.
they never ask for a one-to-one after the course. They're like,
Yeah.
everything and more than you would have gotten in 90
Mm-hmm.
minutes with me in a course that cost a fraction. So it ended up being like a real win-win for me and my audience. And but yeah, it all really came from like a mental shift that honestly happened from like the first call. I thought it was going to be more like a tactical thing, and then you were like, open up your Google Calendar. I was like, why? And then once you actually made me realize that, I was like, oh my God, I am a slave to my own business. I've created something that's not going to support me or make me happy. Like, I might as well just work at a normal job where
Yeah.
I know how much I'm making. That's that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, Andy, this is so powerful. What would you say today if you could go talk to April Andy, April version of Andy, that first version of you that was like, I need a coach? What would you say to her right now?
I would say just go for it. It's like it will be a true investment. If you Google like what an investment is, that's what it's going to be.
Mm.
And just almost embrace the uncomfortable bits of it, of kind of having to push through things that you might feel, so comfortable with. And I think just kind of block out time to question yourself on why you've been doing the things you've been doing, or how do you feel about certain offers.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. I was like, oh, I had this amazing, really successful launch, and you were like, how did you feel about it? I was like, oh, I don't know. And I thought about it. I was like, actually, I wasn't that happy. I felt exhausted. I kind of resented the price. So I would give myself those three things. I would say go for it, honestly, like blindly, just go in for it. Embrace the uncomfortable. And yeah, just give yourself time to kind of realize that every choice you're making is going to actually build out the business that
Mm-hmm.
you are trying to build for yourself. But for me, coaching was like a before and after. I think so many people kind of almost think, like you said, they think a coach is going to be someone who does the work for you. And it's almost like if you were a fitness coach, you can't do the
Mm-hmm.
workout for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that it's knowing that it's someone who will take you hand in hand, but you have to do the work. You have to be ready for
Mm-hmm.
coaching. Honestly, that was it.
I love it, Andy. And I appreciate this conversation so much. It's been so value packed. And it's just like fun sometimes to just talk like seven figure. Like this is
Yeah.
total seven-figure conversation. And I love it. I'm so proud of you. I mean, this last launch that you did, we've been thinking about it for months and months and
Yeah.
months. And then we're like, we put a date, we put a deadline, you put it into action. And look at where you're at now. So I am
Yeah.
so beyond proud of you. Where can people find you? Where can people find you? Where can people tap in? Where can people learn more about what you teach? Tell the listeners.
Well, I am on Instagram, so you can find me there. If you're Spanish speaking, if you don't speak Spanish, you might not understand anything, but that's okay. And thank you so much. I'm actually, and this is something that I appreciate so much, because every time that you would say in the group, like, guys, I'm proud of this, we would be like, oh my God, she's proud of it. Like, if you're even thinking about working with Julia, do it. Because like it's like a
Oh.
day and night. And yeah, if someone wants to learn how to work with Instagram, if you're starting out, if you speak Spanish, you can find me on Instagram as InstaCoach Andy. Look me up there.
I love it. And we'll attach your in the description, all the good things. Andy, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
show and just like
you.
sharing this transformation. Like, that's the value I got from this conversation. Just like how transformative working with a coach has been for you to challenge your mind and think bigger. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. I hope I see you at least in February. I'll be coming back.
Yay!